You might think this video is about bashing Meritage Homes or calling out bad builders, but it's not. It's about the gaps in information you won't hear from their sales reps and how those blind spots could cost in a big way over time. But here's the twist. Even smart buyers with spreadsheets and checklists get caught off guard. So in this video, I'm going to give you objective facts, but I'm also going to tell you about our personal experiences. And I can tell you right now, it is not going to be pretty. Okay, so first thing you should know, Meritage isn't some small local builder that might disappear when the market shifts, and that's a good thing. All right, this is the 5th largest public home builder in the country based on how many homes they closed in 2023. Okay, so that's massive. And they're not just doing volume, all right? They're doing it across 12 different states, all right? So we're talking Arizona, California, Colorado, Utah, Texas, Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Mississippi, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Tennessee. Now, big doesn't always mean tenure, but in Meritage's case, the size is backed by 39 years in the business and nearly 200,000 homes delivered. So that tells you they've got staying power, financially stable, publicly traded, probably not going anywhere. When you're banking on a 10-year warranty with new construction, all right, that's kind of important. One thing you might want to know about Meritage is that energy efficiency is really important to them. Meritage has dominated the EPA's Energy Star Awards. They've won Partner of the Year for Sustained Excellence 11 times. They've also won Residential New Construction Market Leader Award 11 times. So that's a pretty big deal if you care about lower utility bills. So if we're grading them based on long-term stability and recognition, knowing there'll be a company around to honor that 10-year warranty you're banking on, right? Okay, this one is an A+. So that gives you an idea of builder stability and reputation. We're also going to talk about how many different design choices you'll get with Meritage. We'll touch on customization, the quality of their warranties, what level of variety you'll get with both location and price, what other buyers have to say through Google reviews, and if you know me, you know we're going to talk about their contracts. After that, I'm going all out unplugged about Meritage because really there are two ways to truly learn about a builder. There are things you're going to learn at a corporate level, such as their designs, customization options, that kind of thing. But then you have your micro-local, your individual companies. And this is where local management comes in. And this is where so many times things can get ugly. And for us, things have gotten ugly. So get ready for me to tell you about that as well. But let's go ahead and talk about design though. When it comes to design, Meritage Homes does a decent job, giving you variety, but it's not super exciting. All right, so let's take a look at some real examples to show you what they're working with, all right? Your first house, 2-story brick home with a pretty traditional look. There's a mix of brick and stone, a tucked away front porch, and 3 descending roof pitches. It's clean, simple, but nothing bold. Now, house number 2. This is where Meritage flexes a bit more style, all right? This one's got white brick with dark siding and a stone entry that really makes it stand out. You have some really nice dark on white contrast with this one. They also offer a good range of 1-story homes. You'll find plenty with a simple brick front, a low profile roof line, and just a touch of stone near the base. So this would basically be your budget model. You're gonna see mostly front entry garages, but they do sprinkle in a few rear entry options on smaller lot lines. I love seeing soft arches and higher pitched roofs in some of those. They also have a few homes that go for like a more modern aesthetic, more angular with a lower roof line. On the higher end, they have homes with 3-car garages and more stone detailing to kind of add a little bit of curb appeal. Across the board, Meritage averages about 9 floor plans per community, and they strike a decent balance between 1- and 2-story options. Right now, they have 228 homes listed on the MLS. 96 are 1-story and 132 are 2-story. The issue is, while they have different elevations and decent curb appeal, the actual floor plans don't show a lot of variety. You'll see, front and rear garages, some 2-car, some 3, but layout wise, I mean, they really do stick to like a pretty tight formula. I give them points for consistency and range of elevations, but I would say like the creativity, it really just isn't all the way there. So overall, based on choices and diversity, I would give Meritage a solid B. Next up, I always like to touch on how customizable a builder is when it comes to building from the ground up. In this case, there's not a whole lot to talk about because Meritage isn't doing any new builds. Their website only provides options for quick builds. So in terms of rating customization for Meritage, we're just gonna have to, we're pretty much just going with an NA, right? Non-applicable. When it comes to warranties, Meritage follows the industry standard 1-to-10 structure, which means you get 1 year of coverage for general workmanship and materials, 2 years for major mechanical systems like plumbing, HVAC, and electrical, and 10 years for structural components such as the foundation and framing. So this setup is pretty consistent across most production builders. So on the surface, there's nothing particularly unique about it, but here's where Meritage gets some extra credit. They handle the warranty service in-house. So instead of outsourcing to a third-party warranty company, which can honestly feel, kind of disconnected from the builder and frustrating a lot of times to deal with, Meritage manages the process directly. So you're working with the same organization that built your home, which hopefully can lead to faster responses and a smoother resolution. So because of that, I'm giving them an A on warranty. When it comes to location, Meritage gives buyers a pretty strong set of options, especially if you're looking outside the urban core of Dallas. They currently have homes available in 24 different communities across the DFW Metroplex, which is a healthy amount of geographic spread. The bulk of these communities are going to be located either on the east side or the west side of the metro area. Okay, we're talking cities like Princeton, Anna, Lavon, Forney, and McKinney. All of those are represented. But there's an important limitation here, and it's worth noting. All right, if you're targeting the north side of Dallas, you might be out of luck, okay? Meritage currently has no communities in Salina or Prosper, and those areas are really popular right now, because they have a lot of new construction and they have really high rated schools. They also don't have any presence on the southern side of the Metroplex. So if you're considering places like Waxahachie, Midlothian, or Red Oak, this builder simply isn't going to be on your radar. All right, so that could be a deal breaker for a lot of buyers. Another factor to consider, if you have your eye on a specific Meritage floor plan, how many communities offer that same layout? In most cases, the answer is still fairly flexible since many of their communities offer overlapping plan options. So while the geographic range is not fully balanced, all right, you won't be locked into a single location just to get the design you like, and I think that's a good thing. So overall, Meritage earns a solid A- for location. They have plenty of options if you're east or west of Dallas and enough communities to give buyers a lot of choices. But their lack of presence in some of the metro's most in-demand northern and southern zones keeps them from landing a solid A. So we know how many locations they have, but how about volume? How many actual homes do they have for sale? Well, Meritage Homes currently has a huge inventory looking both on the MLS as well as their websites. We're talking 384 quick move-in homes available across the DFW area. So that's a solid number. And it gives buyers more flexibility and options when it comes to choosing both the floor plan and the location. Total homes for sale, including ones still under construction or not yet listed as quick move-ins, will be even higher than that. This matters because if you've ever found a floor plan you love, but didn't vibe with the neighborhood it's in, all right? You know how frustrating that can be. Well, with this kind of volume, your odds go way up of finding that same floor plan in a completely different community. Maybe even one with better schools, lower taxes, or easier commutes. And from a negotiation standpoint, this level of inventory is also a good sign, all right? It tells us Meritage is fairly exposed in the market right now, meaning they have a lot of homes to move. So when a builder has this many homes sitting ready to go, they're typically more open to negotiating on price, covering closing costs, or offering other incentives just to get those homes off their books. So I like what I see with inventory, so I'm giving them an A+. When it comes to pricing, Meritage Homes definitely falls into the more affordable category. Their range starts at around $270,000 in places like Farmersville and goes up to about $504,000 in Corinth. So if you're working with a lower budget, this builder could be a great option for you. Meritage gives you a decent amount of flexibility and choices in that lower tier. You're not stuck with just one or two floor plans either, right? They've built out enough variety to make it feel like you're not totally compromising just because you want to stay under a certain number. That said, we're definitely talking about a low tier builder here. And by that, I mean, you're not gonna find any luxury homes or premium finishes here. They're not building in your $1 million neighborhoods or the more upscale suburbs. So if you're looking for something high end or in a premium location, Meritage probably isn't the builder for you, okay? They're just not playing in that space. Like I mentioned, as of the time this video is being made, they have 384 quick move-in homes available as per the builder's website. That's a pretty big number. But even with that many homes, the price range is still pretty limited. All of those 384 homes are within that same affordable price range. So it's great for budget conscious buyers, but if you've got a larger budget and are hoping for a higher end product, Meritage probably won't have anything for you. Overall, when it comes to pricing options, I'm giving them a grade of B. There's plenty to choose from if you're in the market for something affordable, and they do a good job of offering options within that space, but they get marked down for not having anything in the mid to upper range. Okay, let's take a look at what people are actually saying about Meritage Homes online, specifically through Google Maps reviews. All right, now these are a good way to get a feel for how past buyers are experiencing the builder, both the highs and the lows. We pulled up reviews from a few different communities to get a broader picture. At Eastridge, Meritage has a 4.4 rating based on 18 reviews. Not bad, okay, it's solid, but not really amazing. Over at Ashford Park, the rating drops to 3.8 from 19 reviews. All right, so that's starting to get into that watch out territory, right? Then we looked at Cibolo Hills, which came in at 4.1 with 44 reviews. Yeah, a decent score, especially with that many reviews to balance it out. And finally, Palmilla Springs stood out with a perfect 5.0, but that's only from 9 reviews. So while it sounds great, it's a small sample size. One reviewer in Ashford Park gives a 1-star review and says, "Don't even bother commenting about how you're sorry about my experience. If you're sorry, fix the house that was built on a faulty foundation or built off of an IKEA direction manual. I would give the builder a 0 out of 5 if I could. Pick a different builder if you're in the market for homes. These are not homes. These are houses from the Three Little Pigs. I have yet to see any of these sturdy houses. I've spoken with other homeowners in the community and they're also having problems that Meritage won't fix. Save yourself the time and headache by going to other communities. There's plenty of housing developments in the area." But then on the opposite side of the spectrum, you have Eastridge, okay? 5-star reviews saying great community and a great experience with Meritage. I wanted to mention that Tiffany was extremely helpful and made sure the process was easy. I would highly recommend this community and Meritage Homes. When we zoom out and look at everything together, here's what we find. There are 5 communities with ratings of 4.5 or higher, which is great, but there are 9 that fall at 4.4 or lower, okay? So that adds up to 14 communities total. And based on that spread, we're giving Meritage Homes a grade of B- when it comes to Google reviews. Okay, but let's talk about a very important part of the buying process with Meritage. Let's talk about their contracts. When you buy a pre-owned home, all right, the contract is a standardized form written by the state meant to protect both the buyer and the seller equally. All right, that is not the case with new construction. Builders use their own attorney-drafted contracts. These contracts are always written to benefit the builder, which is going to leave you as the buyer at a disadvantage. So because of that, you'll see I'm always going to talk about contracts in my builder review videos. All right, so let's dig into Meritage. First off, they charge a $250 per day late fee if you don't close on time. So that's pretty steep, especially when you consider that Meritage builds more of a lower end product compared to some of the other builders out there. I mean, you'd expect a penalty like that from like a luxury builder with tight timelines, you know, and custom features, but at this point, at this level, it seems a bit excessive. Now let's get into their convenience clause. This is the part of the contract that deals with what happens if there's a dispute or an issue that might delay things. Well, the good news is it's not totally unrestricted. Some builders will give themselves the ability to cancel the contract for basically any reason. Well, Meritage doesn't go that far, right? They've got it tied to specific situations like disputes. So while it's not great, all right, it's definitely better than a completely one-sided clause. Next up, prorations. Now this is one to really watch out for. Meritage puts a hard no on any sort of re-proration. And what that means is, you know, whatever they calculate for like property tax adjustments at closing, that's it. It's final. If the numbers end up being off and you end up paying more than you should have, there's no going back to get that money. Some builders will allow adjustments post-closing if things come in way off, but Meritage is very clear that they will not. So you want to be extra cautious and really make sure those numbers are reviewed carefully before you sign. Another one that you're going to see with almost every builder, there's no appraisal protection. So if your appraisal comes in low, all right, let's say you're under contract at $450,000 and the appraiser says the house is only worth $430,000, well, you're expected to make up that $20,000 difference in cash. There's no automatic price adjustment, no builder credit, nothing like that, okay? It's all on you. So overall, I'm giving their contracts a solid B. They're not the worst, but they're definitely tilted in the builder's favor. There are some protections missing that I would really want to see, especially for buyers trying to keep risk low. As to our personal experiences, they're definitely mixed. We were recently negotiating a sale on the northeast side in Collin County, and at Anna Ranch, we couldn't get the time of day. Like, communication was very poor, both by the sales consultant and management. Now at Eastridge, on the other hand, the transaction was great, all right, seamless with an on-time close. But then came our most recent closing at Stonehaven. All right, my husband Dale was the agent with this sale, and several times, he said that this was the worst builder experience he had ever had. And that's saying a lot, all right, because we closed so much new construction. From the very beginning, communication was terrible and things got worse towards the end. Like, you won't believe me when I tell you this, all right? But okay, listen to this. These subcontractors installed all of the carpet throughout the home and then proceeded to walk all over it with muddy shoes. Like, they literally stained all of this brand new carpet. So what kind of sloppy workmanship would do something like that? Well, obviously we wanted the carpet replaced, and the sales consultant's response was, well, we just don't do that. You know, and basically this isn't my problem because I'm just the sales consultant. So from there, we had to go up the chain of command to like every level of management we could get to get our client's carpet replaced. In fact, I even sent an email copying in the sales consultant, the project manager, and the area manager. I explained the situation, including pictures of the stained carpet, and I asked them to do the right thing. All right, I even explained I had a YouTube channel and would be creating a video about Meritage, and that I would love to be able to say that the subcontractors made a mistake, but then management made it right. And I would have loved to say that. But guess how many of them responded to me? Not a one. Like, not one single person. And I had even said in the email that I would quote them in this video and that I was also going to share if they didn't reply, and they still didn't reply. I mean, you might think like 1 out of 3, right? But nothing, no response at all. So Dale fought hard on this one, and we ultimately got the carpet replaced in the master bedroom and closet where it was the absolute worst. Still, the lender was terrible. The sales consultant was terrible. The project manager was terrible. These subcontractors were terrible. And there is so much more I could tell you about just how bad this sale was and how much time Dale had to spend on the phone fighting Meritage management. So remember at the beginning where I mentioned what you learn about a builder will fall into 2 camps, okay? You have your corporate level and your micro local level. Well, for Meritage, your corporate level has things like their big emphasis on energy efficiency, how long they've been around, right? The fact they service their warranty themselves. All right, these are all pretty good with Meritage. But then at your local level, all right, you have things like Google reviews, and you have things like our personal experiences, okay? And it's at this local level that you are just seeing some horrible inconsistency. I mean, you could be in for an absolute nightmare where you want to walk away, but then you can't get your deposit back, right? Or you could have a 5-star experience, okay? So they're just incredibly inconsistent. I would recommend carefully dissecting all Google reviews, especially for the community you're considering. Also, have either you or your realtor test out communication before you even consider going under contract with Meritage. If that sales consultant won't return your call in the beginning, all right, it's probably not going to get any better. Which, by the way, hopefully it goes without saying, we are realtors operating here in the Dallas area. So if we sound like a good fit to you, we'd love to get connected. The best way to reach us is through our Let's Find Home questionnaire that you can find in the description section. So Meritage has definitely given us plenty to talk about. Am I right? All right. Some wins, some warnings, and you know, a few absolute nightmares. So if you're the kind of buyer who likes this level of detail, all right, I've made an entire playlist of builder reviews that you may want to check out. You can check it out right here. So head on over and I will see you there.